I would request Mr. Suresh Mathur, Acting Provost and Chief Operating Officer, Auro Hotels and University, and Professor Amrish Mishra, Registrar, Auro University, to please honor and felicitate Shri Rajeev Chandrasekhar. I would request Mr. Suresh Mathur and Professor Amrish Mishra to felicitate Prabhu Bhai Vasawa, Member of Parliament, Badod. I would request Mr. Sandeep Sharma and Dr. Kiran Singh to please felicitate Shri M. Nagarajan, Commissioner, Higher Education. I would request Dr. Monica Suri and Mr. Vishwas Devkar to please felicitate Mr. Hiranmay Mahanta, CEO, iHub. I would like to invite Mr. Suresh Mathur, Acting Provost, Auro University and Chief Operating Officer, Auro Hotels, to give his welcome address. Please, sir.
Aligning with the theme of the event, New India for Young India, Decade of Opportunities, on behalf of Auro University, it is my honor and privilege to welcome Shri, our Chief Guest, Shri Rajeev Chandrasekhar, Honorable Minister for Skill Development and Entrepreneurships, Electronics and IT. I'm also very fortunate to welcome today Prabhu Bhai Vasawa, Member of Parliament, Lok Sabha, 23rd District, Bardoli, who is with us also. I welcome Mr. Nagarajan, IAS Commissioner, Higher Education, Gujarat, Shri Hiranmay Mahanta, CEO of iHub, and other dignitaries on and off the dais. Professor Amrish Mishra, Registrar, University, and other dignitaries, faculties, alumni, beloved students, ladies and gentlemen. Before I start, I'd like to interject and thank the Honorable Minister for the time he spent looking at the exhibits displayed by our alumni and other students of all the innovation that they have created. Listening to some of the sound bites that he was advising students, I think he gave absolutely wonderful and very exact advice as to how they need to brand their product. I was very impressed, sir, and sir, thank you so much for the time. Auro University was established in 2011 under the vision of our founder, president and chancellor, Shri H.P. Rama. It will be very pertinent to note here that the Honorable Prime Minister, the then Chief Minister of Gujarat, Shri Narendra Bhai Modi, along with the late Shri Kirat Bhai Joshi, the then Education Advisor to the Chief Minister, inspired and encouraged Mr. Rama to establish Auro University. Shri H.P. Rama also serves on the Prime Minister's Select Committee for the 150th birth anniversary celebrations of Shri Aurobindo, along with the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. The university is inspired by the vision and teachings of Shri Aurobindo Ghosh and the Mother. At Auro, our vision is to be a premier university of integral and transformational learning for future leaders. Our philosophy is driven by our mission to nurture students as they develop from learners to leaders. We firmly believe that education must not be purely limited to academic learning. Hence, at Auro, our focus is to develop all faculties of an individual to ensure a holistic development, as also stated in the National Education Policy. At Auro, our focus is to develop all faculties of an individual to ensure both holistic development of the physical, mental, vital, and spiritual education. At Auro, we give a degree for life. Today, Auro has 7 schools featuring over 30 doctoral, postgraduate, graduate and skill-based certificate programs in business, hospitality in collaboration with Marriott Hotels, law, information technology in partnership with IBM, liberal arts, design and mass communication and journalism. In conclusion, I would like to say that Auro University provides a dynamic, energetic and progressive learning environment to incubate our leaders of tomorrow. Our campus atmosphere inspires students to discover themselves and to realize their highest potential. Welcome to Auro University, sir. Jai Gauri, Gujarat, Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce to you our next speaker on the dais, Shri M. Nagarajan, IAS Commissioner Higher Education, Gujarat. We are honored to have you with us, sir, and I would humbly invite you to address this gathering of India's young minds. Please, sir.
Very good evening to all. I am also here to listen to the Honorable Minister. But it's my pleasure to share some remarks, especially on this occasion, because for me it is once again homecoming to Surat after some gap, and also to Auro University in 2018 when the incubation was started. I have been there. So on this occasion, I think it's very momentous occasion for us that Honorable Minister is here. He is the Minister for Skill Development, Entrepreneurship and IT. The best part about him, when I think, is that he has been part of the team which, created the Pentium processor and all, that laid the foundation for revolution that we are facing, that we are experiencing now, and that has touched so many lives. And now he believes that to build a new India, we should talk to young India. That is why he is here today. I am glad to welcome him on behalf of Education Department to Gujarat, sir. I am sure that the dedicated and sincere students of Auro University will benefit from your life story and experiences and the vision that you will present to them today. I also heartily welcome Honorable MP Vasawa sir. He is a very person who takes a great interest in how to take schemes to the masses, and he always keeps questioning. Even the very short interaction I had with him were very insightful. I am glad to have him here. Thank you, sir, for joining us. So, to share a few anecdotes about my experience with Auro University as I am here. I was in the Festival of Innovation 5 years ago, and I saw the first cohort, and I am sure that would be the 4th or 5th cohort going on now. I'm glad to see the high level of mentorship that our faculties are able to provide because of the continuous experience providing. So that is the strength of Gujarat, that there are academic ecosystem which focuses on skill development and entrepreneurship, and our faculties are attuned to how to mentor an idea which is not in the syllabus. Actually, so far it has not been there. So this model of student-led innovation is creating the pipeline for Startup India and Digital India. And today, digital opportunities are providing, greater chances for all of us to make a big impact, especially in technology. And that opportunity is well enabled as on the platter, I would say, by Auro University to the students. So I'm glad to see this kind of great, work going on. This year, the Student Startup Innovation Policy, a new version 2.0 was released, and there the criteria were further relaxed. Today, even any youth who is even a dropout up to 35 years of age can, get support for his ideas, get mentorship and all. Even one person, a student from one institute, can be supported by another institute, and there is a big amount of cross-learning and cross-collaboration that is going on. And Shri Madhur rightly mentioned that we should also focus on ideas that is coming up from the non-STEM sector. So our bias towards STEM-focused innovation must be slightly changed, that you don't need to be a techie to be an innovator. What you need is curiosity, creative thinking, and out of the box thinking, and also focus on the problem and to get a relevant solution. I also believe that once a product is innovated, say in any high-end technology, to take it to the audience, to take it to the target market and segment and customer, you need accounts, you need finance, you need management, all kinds of people. Also, when we are making an innovation for the sake of innovation or research for the sake of innovation is not going to deliver us any value that is enduring for the society, which is the ultimate goal of doing all the academics. So, finding the right problem statement to solve is very important factor. Yesterday, our Honorable Chief Minister launched a problem statement booklet where 775 problem statements from various government departments, industries, chamber, associations have been collated, and we'll also be sharing the soft copies with you all. So, this kind of problem statement compendium, I think, sir, it will be one of the largest compendium in this country, and that means that youth have so many opportunities to solve all these problems. So that presents another opportunity for Gujarat to help our students focus on it. And in the age group of 17 to 22, when a student is trying to be an entrepreneur, his idea should be taken to the market. So we are all here to facilitate your mind to market journey of how to take your innovation to the market and then patent it and also be an entrepreneur. Our vision for New India should be to create at least 10% of each cohort to be a job creator, so that they can engage the other 90% in their ventures, in their they can be a job provider for them. That way we will be able to get the best benefit of the demographic dividend and all. And for this, Gujarat government, what they are doing with the community and ecosystem, we are all just the facilitators. And today we'll be having the inspirational speech of the minister, is that we are providing the opportunities and hope for the next generation, which is very important for us. And I look forward to joining you all to hearing the talk of the minister. Thank you very much for having me here.
Thank you, sir, for those inspirational words. I would request Shri Rajeev Chandrasekhar ji to join our students for a fireside chat, and I would request all the dignitaries to please be seated in the front rows. It is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to interact with sir through a fireside chat and to know about his struggles as an entrepreneur. I would like to invite students of Auro University, Mr. Rohan Kamlani, Ms. Anjali Sharma, and Ms. Nandini Sultania for the fireside chat.
Thank you, ma'am, for giving me the stage to have a leading conversation with sir. So, sir, we would really like to have some conversation and like to know more about you. So, we'll go ahead with it. Okay, so starting with your early life, how... could you just throw some light on the insights or about your academic journey and how was your childhood?
I think I've said this many times publicly. First of all, thank you all of you for welcoming me here today, this evening. And I think we ran a little late with the startup, so thank you for your patience. I wasn't a spectacular student in school, and part of it was that I was maybe not as focused or whatever you want to call it, but and maybe because I did a lot of different schools over the 12 years. And so I was, like I said, most students go through life being an average or above average student. And I think I found my calling in the early years of my engineering program when I discovered that there was a computer center in my college. And in those days, I can't even begin to describe computer center in those days meant. It was a large one computer, and there's a long list of people who can take time on the computer for half an hour to program. So I discovered that, and I found that I had a calling and a penchant for it, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Great, sir. So one more question from my side, sir. We heard that you're very connected with the armed forces. So could you just say something about your connection with them and share your glimpses?
I am connected in the sense I'm very connected because I'm a son of an Air Force officer and I consider myself a Fauji son. And a lot of my approach towards public life and public service comes from having lived for many, many years with men and women and families who consider service to the nation their primary mission in life. So there is a lot of that in my blood, there's a lot of that in my DNA, and that is something that I have, in a sense, demonstrated even during my entrepreneurial business journey, as well as my time in public, that I consider serving and I consider public service something very deep. It's a matter of privilege, and it's something not to be taken lightly.
Yes, sir. So, good evening, sir. I would like to know that one thing, who was your constant motivation throughout the life, or who is your role model and who kept you motivated throughout the life from your early stage?
Very difficult to say that I had one role model. I didn't have one role model. At different stages in my life, different people inspired me, and a lot of that depended on which path, which fork my path took. So, for example, for a long time when I was a technologist and when I was working in Silicon Valley, people like Andy Grove, people like Bill Gates then, he doesn't inspire me anymore, but he inspired me then. Steve Jobs, these are people who inspired me, not so much because anything, but because of the maverick, Christopher Columbus-like hunt the idea down, hunt the solution down approach, relentless type of approach towards innovation. And then when I came to India and I started the first mobile company, one of the first mobile companies in India, I was inspired by a gentleman called Craig McCaw, who was the pioneer of wireless in the US. And he was another slightly crazy guy because he really took, and there's a book about him called Money Out of Thin Air. And he really pioneered the concept of large-scale cellular business model, business plans where every very elite, small segment of the market category. So different types, different people, and of course public life. I've been inspired early on by Atalji, and then of course now by our Prime Minister. So in different times, different people have inspired me, and I think that's the way it should be.
Good evening, sir. Thank you for interacting with us. Sir, with the growing success rate of startup in India, what are your thoughts on the potential of the youth of the country with this entrepreneurial ecosystem, and how was it different from your times and the current times?
This is an excellent question, and I don't know if you can prepare with that, but it's a super question because I'll tell you why. Why these interactions, why we are all making this effort to come out to you and engage with you. It's not that we don't have anything else to do. And we consider these engagements very important because the Honorable Prime Minister on April 15, 2021, from the rampart of the Red Fort, when he talked about 75 years of India, he talked about the next 25 years of India. And then he said something very powerful. He talked about the concept of India's decade. That is the next decade, which will be driven by technology. And then he went on to say something even more powerful, which is to say that this India's decade will be built by the energy, passion, determination and success of India's youth. Now, if you line up that construct, that India has a great opportunity to be amongst the world's top economies in the world. India has the great opportunity to be one of the largest, most successful and vibrant startup innovation ecosystems in the world. India has a great opportunity in the next decade to create world-beating technology. And India will do A, B and C on the back of the energy, the power, the determination and the motivation of its youth. Then the whole construct falls into place, saying that this is not just about me or Vasavaji or a few people saying that this is about the youth of India. It is the one person who has transformed India's landscape in the last 7 years, saying that I am investing in the future of India by investing in the youth of India. That is why this line, New India for Young India. So that I hope that establishes how important it is for us, for you to be convinced about this. This other point about startups and how defining startups are going to be to the future of India. I'll say two things today, and I'm not pretending to be an astrologer or or soothsayer. Digital is going to dominate the future. I'm not saying it's 100%, I'm not saying it's 80%, but a large part of the disruption, the large part of the economic expansion, the large part of the economic value add in all our lives, in all countries all over, is going to be digital. And startups and innovations are going to be the core of that. Why I say this, and I want you to understand this carefully, is that 10 years ago when you talked about tech in India, you talked about Infosys, HCL, Wipro, TCS, and maybe one other company. Today when you talk about tech, you don't talk about these companies at all. You talk about those 100 unicorns. You talk about Flipkart. Talk about Make My Trip, we talk about all of these new AI companies. So, it is completely clear that the landscape for the next 10 years or as many years as the case may be is going to be drawn by these young startups. Today there are 80,000, tomorrow there will be 150,000, and a couple of years later there will be 250,000. But our goal as a government, our goal as public servants is to make sure that we have the largest innovation ecosystem in the world. We're the third largest today. We want to become the largest.
Thank you, sir.
So going ahead, as we know, Bangalore is the Silicon Valley of India. So could you share some reasons in the emergence of Silicon Valley of India in Bangalore, and what can we learn, and does other countries also need to implement them?
No, so look, I think this is a question that has been asked by many cities around the country. Why did Bangalore become Silicon Garden, Silicon Valley, Silicon whatever? I'm from Bangalore. I spent 35 years in Bangalore, and a lot of it was the fact that there was an academic ecosystem in Bangalore, a public sector technology ecosystem in Bangalore, ISRO, Bharat HAL, that very easily allowed these new companies then, that is Infosys and the Wipros of the world, to use the talent, use the capabilities to grow in the IT services business. Number one, that is, Bangalore had the elements that required to build these companies. The second was, most other cities were asleep at the wheel. Most other governments, I would argue, for example, that before Bangalore, Kerala was a pioneer in a concept of these IT parks by starting something called Techno Park. But then they went and elected Marxists. You understand? So you have great potential, but if you have the wrong politics, the wrong political leaders, then you are back at the end of the... So I think Karnataka and Bangalore had the opportunity that we had the ingredients. We had some progressive political leadership at that time that backed this opportunity, went full in, and therefore it grew. And which is exactly the point that in 2014 Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji said, that we don't want digital opportunities to be concentrated in these 3.5 cities. And I keep saying 3.5, and the 3.5 are Bangalore, Hyderabad, Chennai, Gurugram, and maybe you can add Pune if you really push to it. That it should no longer be about concentration there, that every youngster from Bharuch or Surat or Gandhinagar has to go to Bangalore to find a job in IT if he wants to aspire to be in the digital space. But that we must move that to increasing the number of tier 2, tier 3 cities that are also in the digital space from 5 to 15, 15 to 25. So that is underway. Plus, after COVID, what has happened is that with work from home, now a youngster in Bharuch or a youngster anywhere in Kohima, Nagaland can also be part of this. So I think all of this is saying to me one thing, which is that the history of technology in India may have started in Bengaluru, but the future will be written, the script will be written, the future chapters of innovation will be written all over the country.
Sir, so moving on, like you are the man of information technology and you have seen the whole era of how the technology has evolved, and today India is moving so fast with this advanced technology. So what are your views on blockchain technology, and do you think that it can add value to the businesses nowadays?
They can block. There are two things. I'll answer that in this way. The internet, which is let's say Web 2.0, and preceding it Web 1.0, has transformed everything. It has changed business models, it has changed government, it has changed individuals' lives. So it has completely redrawn what is the normal. Now think of Web 2.0 and think of another disruption, which is Web 3.0, which is you take the internet as you know it and further decentralize it, and that is what Web 3.0 is. Now, I will say 2-3 things here about Web 3.0. We will move to Web 3.0. India will lead the charge into Web 3.0 innovation. But there are many regulatory challenges around safety and trust on Web 3.0 internet, accountability on the Web 3.0 internet. How do you deal with the increased criminality and user harm that is now today increasing on the internet? Because the Web 3.0 makes it much more difficult to surveil, to identify and to prosecute online crime. So I say when people ask me that the first two waves of the internet escaped scrutiny of governments and escaped scrutiny of citizens because everybody said innovation here. तो इनोवेशन है तो छोड़ दिए, फेसबुक को भी छोड़ दो, ट्विटर को भी छोड़ दो, सबको छोड़ दो, ठीक है इनोवेशन. बट इनोवेशन के साथ नाउ वी हैव डिस्कवर्ड कि हार्म भी है, and governments and citizens are now playing catch up on how do you handle the harm. So the conversation today is, for example, in the context of cryptocurrency, is crypto represents blockchain, but crypto also represents significant areas of concern in terms of who owns the tokens, who is issuing the tokens, what is the impact on the macroeconomy of the country where this token is being used or the cryptocurrency is being used. And therefore, the jump to Web 3.0 will not be as automatic and without scrutiny as a jump that we took from Web 1.0 to Web 2.0. यहाँ पे थोड़ा डिबेट होगा, सरकारें डिबेट करेंगे, लोग डिबेट करेंगे, प्रोफेसर लोग डिबेट करेंगे कि ये जो ऑटोमेटिक जंप करना था, and as you saw the crypto meltdown recently, $1.5 trillion have been lost in crypto. $1.5 trillion, which is half our GDP, was lost globally on the crypto meltdown. So a lot of people have gone bankrupt, and that is not a desirable outcome of any innovation, that you have this type of volatility and this type of harm coming out of it. So I think the Web 3.0, we will get there, but it will be a slightly more planned process, unlike the past.
Thank you so much, sir, for your answers.
So, like you previously mentioned that there are hundreds of unicorns currently existing in the country, but only 18 of them are profitable. So, what do you think will be the reason of the other people not?
So, here is the thing. I'll explain to you that sometimes the value is not so much in revenues and profitability, it could be intellectual property. There are companies that are worth millions and millions of dollars that don't have a rupee in profitability or a dollar in profitability, but they have tremendous amount of intellectual property in terms of algorithms, AI, data sets, etc. etc. So that, I don't think we should measure that through that prism alone. But I want to share one story with you about the importance of startups to the India story. I'll just share it with you. I know I'm going a little off topic, but I want to share it with this audience. Recently, and I was telling Vasabaji, Prime Minister sent me with 30 startups to the UK for a seminar, do some program over it. And I was there, and suddenly I got this multiple requests from over 7 ministers from the UK government to meet me. So the first time I heard that, I thought, oh, I'm such a famous person, maybe 7 ministers of the British government want to meet me. Maybe being a minister in Modi ji's government has given me that type of fame. 5 seconds के बाद पता चला कि मुझे नहीं मिलना किसी को. So they are coming to meet the startups. And on the last day, Prime Minister Boris Johnson invited the 30 startups, and I of course tagged along for breakfast. And he said to me, and I shared the story with somebody earlier in the afternoon. He said, I just met Narendra Modi ji in Munich. Rajeev, tell me, what is the secret? How does he manage to do this? You understand? So, the startup phenomenon in India is today something that is being looked at with awe and respect by the world. Not just by the world's investors, by the world's prime ministers. And it is a phenomenon that is only going to continue to grow. And so, valuation, to answer your specific question, is a function sometimes of audience size, value of your brand, value of your intellectual properties, and it is never only going to be measured by revenues and profits.
Sir, so as we have built the first technological mobile network BPL and the mobile company BPL in 1994, and nowadays the technology is moving at so fast pace that we have 5G on our doorstep. So so we have 5G on our doorsteps, and anytime soon we can experience 5G on our mobile handsets too. So how do you think that 5G can change the technology landscape of India?
So 2 things I want to tell you about 5G era of India and the pre-5G era. I am a person who operated in 2G, 2.5G, 3G. And I said this again earlier in the morning in Bharuch, that not one piece of equipment that when we built out the networks were Indian. Pura ka pura imported. Means short of the screw and the screwdriver, everything else is imported. That was how it was till recently. That every piece of technology that went into our wireless networks were imported. In the 5G era, for the first time, a large percentage of the network and the whole virtualization and what we call the virtualized radio access networks will be Indian designed and made in India. This is a huge inflection point in the development of our capabilities. Second is 5G does things to the internet that people can't even imagine today. Aaj if somebody tells you, boss, मैं 5G के बाद I'll tell you ये होगा, ये आप लिख के ले लो that they are pulling a fast one. Because the impact of 5G is, you and I have a phone, all of us will have a 5G phone, and we will communicate as we were doing before, but we'll do it faster. But there will be 100 sensors in this room that will also be connected to the internet. One of them is mapping motion, one of them is mapping temperature, one of them is mapping something else. So you will have 5G becoming the 5th generation of peer-to-peer, person-to-person network, but it is the first generation of machine-to-machine and first generation of machine-to-person network. So the kinds of applications that will arise out of that, IoT, everybody talks about IoT, but what about intelligent IoT? What are the risks that will come out of that? What will be the applications for that? I think the next 2-3 years is just very, very ripe for innovation in the ecosystem. So मैं electronics and communication students को जब भी मिलता हूँ ऐसे, you thought that the sunrise time of electronics and communication is over? No. It's just beginning to start. It is like you arrived at the base camp of Everest and you are now looking up and saying, "अच्छा 9,000 meters बाकी है climb करने के लिए, don't take anything." So 5G is very exciting time, and for anybody who's in the communication, sensor, IoT space, it is going to be tremendously exciting times.
It can also help AI boost.
The whole thing about sensors and machine to machine is that AI sits on top of that. If the sensor there says temperature is 28, then it does A, B, C. So algorithms are going to be built on all of those inputs of data from all of these millions of sensors on the internet. It's a totally new world.
Thank you, sir.
So, like we've spoken that we've already moved towards the digital currency, the Bitcoin, the cryptocurrency. But where do you see Indians adapting it, and how can we ever move completely from the traditional money to the digital currency? Or?
So first of all, I want to almost everybody who's young is fascinated with it, because I have a son who's 22 years old and he tries to give me gyan about digital currency whenever he gets an opportunity. इसमें दो तीन फंडेस बड़े क्लियर करने चाहिए. Digital currency is not the same as cryptocurrency. Okay. Digitizing an existing currency is very possible. It is very doable. We do it through digital payments. We can do it through all kinds of other models. And it's basically taking a physical currency and instead swapping it and representing it in a digital format. No problem with that. Where it gets into a little troubling area is the crypto blockchain based crypto model, which is that if it is an unauthorized non-central bank backed crypto like Bitcoin or Doge or Ethereum or whatever, then it is essentially gambling because there is nobody backing it. And so you have seen in the last 3 months, $1.5 trillion have been lost on that gamble. And you have no place to go. In the real world, if your rupee suddenly becomes less valuable than 100 rupees, you can at least go cry to the government or to the RBI. So, you lost it. The third thing about the Indian context in crypto is the following. Our laws are very clear that an Indian citizen cannot dabble in foreign currency unless it is with the express permission of the RBI, or it is through what we call the LRS, Liberalized Remittance Scheme, which allows you to spend $250,000 a year on buying American stock, UK stock, property, jo bhi hai. If you do anything outside of that, you are violating Indian law as it is today. So that is what happened in February this year, when there was a huge peak in Indians buying crypto. The government very politely, gently pointed out to them that देख लो जरा जो आप जो कर रहे हैं legal है कि नहीं है. I went on air after the budget and I said, look, government is not against crypto. Government is not against innovation. But the government is pointing out to you that when you go take your rupee account and buy a dollar crypto, you better make sure that you're doing it legally, because currently there is no other way except into the LRS and the RBI. And so when that became clear, everybody sold. And it is because of that word of caution from the Narendra Modi ji government that many Indians escaped the meltdown of crypto. और मैंने recently tweet भी किया कि आप लोगों को तो thank you बोलना चाहिए minimum कि हमने आपको बचाया है.
Thank you, sir.
So, as we are entering in the digital era, and as you said, it's just the start. So, we are going to experience a lot and more. So, my last question that I would give to you is that you have experienced a change in your work life as an employee, as a leader, as an entrepreneur. So, could you share some glimpses on it? That what was your experience in the change of the work experience that you had?
I don't see any change in my work. Honestly, I don't see it. I work as most ministers in the government of Prime Minister Modi work relentlessly. We have a boss who is a hard taskmaster, who our Prime Minister has a definite sense of urgency about transforming our country, and all of us share in that sense of urgency. So, agar anybody thought that being a minister is an easier job than being an entrepreneur or being a techie, it is not. It is as challenging, as difficult, and it is also as satisfying. But it's a different type of satisfaction, it's a different type of intensity, it's a different type of challenge. As an entrepreneur, I never got around to traveling around the country as I do now as a minister. But it's a different type of, the fabric of the work is very different. But the intensity of the work and the drive remains as intense as anything I've done.
Thank you, sir. It was an honor to share a stage with you.
Thank you.
And sir, would you share some suggestions or give advice to the students of Auro on how to lead a life ahead?
No, look, I didn't come here to give you any advice, and that's not my style. But I would certainly share this with you, that India today, post-COVID, is, and you should, just analyze this yourself whenever you have some free time and you're not watching Netflix or Hotstar or whatever it is. Or what is it? Matchmaking. Season 2 of matchmaking. Seema Taparia. No, when you got a break from that, just think about it. That in the last 2 years, from 2020 February to now, the entire world, the China, the Americas, the Europe, all of us went through the same challenge. We had to deal with this virus. Okay? Pehli baar in the history of modern mankind, all countries had to deal with one same similar challenge. Now you say yourself, look at yourself and look at our country 2022 and compare our country to the rest of the world. We have voluntarily delivered 200 crore vaccination shots. We have stopped the virus after the second wave. We have become the largest economy in the world, fastest growing economy in the world, fastest growing innovation ecosystem in the world, highest FDI in the world, lowest inflation in the world, and I can keep going on and on. China is struggling with its fourth lockdown. America is struggling with runaway inflation, highest ever inflation in the world, ever. In the last 60 years, they've never had inflation like this. UK has gone into double-digit inflation for the first time. And then you look at ourselves and say, what is the difference? The difference is really, we had a different government, different type of leadership, and our people worked as a team with the government, whether they were people in Gujarat, whether they were people in Kerala, whether they were people in West Bengal. We worked together to say we will fight this and win. And we have fought and won. So I am saying to every youngster today, the world looks at us very differently, with great deal of respect. Over the last 2 years, the Prime Minister has thrown open so many new opportunities for youngsters. The pathway for the next 10 years is all about technology, innovation, and I think somebody mentioned that this is about that Auro doesn't is about arts and science and so on and so forth. And by the way, I don't mean digital is about technology. Everything today is digital. It sits on a platform. If you're a chef, you are making biscuits and vegan food, you still need to digitize your customer-facing platform. So I would urge all of you to look at the future through absolutely confident eyes. Look at all the opportunities and really be part of this really mission to take India to become the largest economy in the world over the next 10 years. When you become adults and old and you are sitting in a dais like this somewhere, 20 years from now, maybe you will be giving jam to people who should say, we are the world's largest economy and we got here because the last 10 years we worked very hard. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We'll keep everything in mind. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for such an interactive and heart-to-heart discussion. It is an honor to know your journey, and I'm sure our students will take an inspiration from it.
Good evening, sir. I'm Chandrasekhar from School of Law. Sir, being from the legal fraternity, I want to ask, how long do we now have to wait for the data protection?
And you're anxious about this, why?
So because we have, in digital India, we have growing cases of these. So,
okay, good. Anyway, it's a good question and I'm happy to answer it. First of all, I just want to tell you, what is your name? Sagar. First of all, understand that privacy is a fundamental right in our country. I was one of the petitioners in the case where the Supreme Court found that privacy is a fundamental right in 2017. So nothing changes. Whether there is a bill, whether the bill is delayed, the fact is your fundamental right is intact. The Data Protection Bill does something very narrow. It basically codifies the do's and don'ts of the relationship between you as a citizen and an intermediary, that the platform that is collecting your data and delivering a product or service to you. The reason the Prime Minister and the government and all of us decided to withdraw this bill is a very simple reason. The bill was designed in 2018, pre-COVID. It had a certain set of assumptions. When it went into committee, it became a very complex bill because there are many issues that are not addressed by the IT Act, which is a 22-year-old act, that then found its way into the data protection bill, even though it had nothing to do with data protection. For example, hardware should be trusted geography, data should be localized, or many issues that have nothing to do with data protection. So we said we'll withdraw it because it was clear from the public commentary, not from our assessment, that that bill would cast a huge burden of compliance on young startups. And the Prime Minister has made it very clear, we will never do anything by way of policy or laws or rules that will ever create hurdles for our youth or for our entrepreneurs. And this was creating a huge compliance burden. So, I'll just answer. So, to your question of what happens next, we will get a total framework of laws. We will bring in a new law which will replace the IT Act, which will address all these other issues, challenges on the internet. We will create a very specific digital data protection bill, and we'll create a national data governance framework policy for the non-personal data part, which is for AI and all that. So you will see that we will come with a total comprehensive framework that will be the catalyst for this India's decade. That means the innovation will go ahead, as well as citizen rights will be protected. By the way, just 5 cents Naya Paisa of advice. Cyber law, if you're a lawyer, is an area where there's tremendous opportunity for learning and for succeeding both professionally and as a law firm. There's a lot of shortage in that area of talented young minds, and it is an area that I would encourage you to spend a lot of attention on.
Yes, so you might be expecting a question from youth, but I feel teacher remains young, throughout. So that's why I am asking for your permission to ask a question as a teacher. So in this particular concept of New India for Young India, there are role of many stakeholders, industrialists, people like you who are coming forward and sensitizing all of us as transformational leaders, then government, angel investors, and many more people in the process. So I would like to understand from you that being an educationist, as a part of education system, I feel that the role of a mentor is very important in this journey, because I am educationist and many of my colleagues who are from the various streams and specializations as faculty. So how do you see the role of a mentor in this particular journey of skill development and entrepreneurship? Because I believe that we are going to play a very instrumental role in this particular process. So your thoughts on that, sir?
No, thank you for asking that question, and I think it's a very important question. I think the role of our educations, and I speak about the community at large, is a very important role, because we are today in our education institutions not talking to students only about knowledge. We are talking about knowledge plus skills plus pointing them in a direction where the knowledge and skills can be exploited through entrepreneurship and startups. So, a teacher का role मेरे हिसाब से has dramatically changed from saying I'll point you towards knowledge to saying I'll point you towards knowledge, and here are the skills that you require to have, and here are the opportunities. That is why when I address the youth, it is important for me to know that the professors and the teachers are in the audience, because finally at the end of the day, you are the ones who are going to repeat what we are saying. Now, this concept of mentoring, I have a slightly different approach to it, and I'll explain to you, and please don't mind my saying so. I personally believe there is nothing that I can do to mentor a young person, especially in technology. Now, maybe in law you can, maybe in arts you can, maybe in history you can. क्योंकि टेक्नोलॉजी में पर से a 16-year-old cannot be mentored by a 50-year-old. Because a 16-year-old or an 18-year-old knows more about technology than a 50-year-old can ever know. And the more we live in denial of it, the more mistakes we are making. तो एक मेरा पहला मीटिंग था अहमदाबाद में, ऐसे I think you were there and I think Mr. Nagarajan was there and we were having a chat where somebody said and he was an old aged person who said that all students need mentors. I said with great respect, they need our teachers and professors to constantly show them the way, which is not the same as saying I will teach you how to build a business. मैं dark internet में I spent a lot of time roaming in the dark internet, and I don't want to sound like a bad man roaming the dark internet. Sounds terrible, but I'm on some groups and I listen to people talk about criminality. An average 16 to 18-year-old on the dark net will teach us about the internet and technology, things that we didn't even know existed. And I think I'm a reasonably smart person, and I can tell you that every week when I spend some time there, I come away scratching my head saying, इसके बारे में मैं सोचा ही नहीं था. So mentoring broadly, yes, but I think in the granular aspects of technology, we have to accept that they know more, and there's a lot for us to learn from them rather than us to teach them.
Thank you so much, sir. I would request Shri Rajeev Chandrasekhar ji to felicitate the creative teams behind some of the notable startups. In line with this, I would like to invite our first startup by Chef Arusha Rena. She owns a startup called Let's Whisk, which started in year 2019 with an idea to serve premium and artisan desserts in the city. They also customize desserts as per the dietary requirements of the client. Currently, they are working on edible gifting options that are long-lasting and easy to send across the country. We wish you all the best. I would now like to invite Ms. Nandini Sultania. She has a startup named Kamakhya. Nandini launched her startup on 25th November 2018 and is now recognized under Startup India. In an urge to make difference to environment, she got a group of trainer doctors and volunteers together and launched Kamakhya movement on 12th January 2020. Now Kamakhya India has distributed more than 20,000 reusable bags across the country, taken more than 15 sessions online and offline. Thank you, Nandini. Our next startup is by Ms. Dhriti Desai called Frosting Layers. During her graduation, she discovered a passion for baking and started learning and researching about black rice. She started her business at small scale at home, and after COVID, she changed her business model and started online baking workshops. Our next startup is by Mr. Vatsav Parekh called Bhumi. Bhumi aspires to bring transparency in real estate sector, and Bhumi converts the conventional physical reports into highly financial digital map that can be accessed using existing navigation apps like Google Maps. Next in line and our final startup is by Ms. Khushi Jain called The Food Mistress. They are home-based bakers and are registered with FSSI. From what started with a jar cake dessert has now grown into full-fledged bakery that innovated with corn clay and jaggery cookies.